my name is Tatiana and my channel is Created by Lady T, and in this channel I talk about quilting, crochet, and sewing. I give quilt alongs, sew alongs, and crochet alongs, as well as product reviews. This video is part of a series 12 blocks till Christmas. So we are finally finished with our 12 blocks, and Thanksgiving is over and I am embarking next week where I will be finishing up this project. Now, what I'm doing for today's video is two things. First, what I did is I squared up my blocks. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that all my blocks are 16 inches, 16 by 16. So I went through my blocks that didn't meet 16 by 16. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add borders around those blocks. So I cut these 2-inch strips, and I will add borders to those blocks to make them 16 inches. When all 12 of them are 16 inches, then I have some fabric where I'm going to sash each block. And To show you how I will be sashing each block. So I'll be doing that in this video too, the second part of the video. The first block I'm going to show you how I'm going to make sure that all these blocks are equal and they're 16-inch blocks each. So half of them are 16 inches and half of them are not. When I started this, I wasn't sure what size block I really wanted to do by the end. I was using scraps and I really didn't have any pattern, and I didn't draw out any diagram of where I wanted to go with this. Even though I was videotaping everything, I was just doing a really freeform quilt that I wasn't going by any rules or trying to use as less rules as I possibly can. I was doing something very freeform and just to get rid of my stash, but also just to run with this and just to have some freedom and not worry about, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? But then there are some rules that you do have to follow. All the blocks have to be the same size. You need to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Those are rules that are not avoidable, and I'm not going to do that here. But these blocks right now that I have, they need to be 16 inches, all of them. So I'm going to make sure that they're 16 inches before I move on to sashing them. And after I sash them, I'll be sewing them all together, and then I'll have the quilt top all ready to go. So first, let me show you which ones were not 16 inches that I'm going to add my borders to. The first one that I'm going to add borders to is block number 1, which was the first one that I started out with in this series. The next one is block number 2. Actually, for block number 2, I did have a border and I cut it off because I didn't like it and I wanted to use this red instead. I thought that would look much nicer. So block number 2 is the next one that I'm going to be adding a border to. Block number 4 is the next one with the Christmas trees. That did not quite make 16 inches. Block number 5 is the next one. That didn't make 16 inches. Block number 9 was the other one that didn't make it to 16 inches. And then block number 11 that didn't make it to 16 inches. So all of these blocks, I am going to add this red border on them and sew them on. And then I'll be ready to start sashing. So here are the blocks that I added the borders to make them 16 inches. And I just added the same fabric, and it just gave it a nice little shadow. And now I'm going to start with the sashing. So I've squared up my pieces, and the way I'm going to do the sashing is I'm going to make like a little L, and I used 4-inch wide strips to do this, and I'm just going to attach each one to the other. So actually I had to do this on my bed to make it easier for me to see rather than being in my sewing room. And I have some of these out, and I haven't done all of them yet.